Hello from Arizona. My name's Cal, and I want to welcome you to the Tough Trails DIY series. Let's get her going. In this episode, what we're going to do today is we're going to deal with this camber issue right here, and that should wrap up this front suspension by setting up this camber. All right, guys. So in this episode, what we're going to do today is we're going to deal with this camber issue right here, and that should wrap up this front suspension by setting up this camber. So if you follow the channel, you know we've done this before, and we use these exact same struts on another two-door, but we did it a different way where we actually cut the ears off of the stock or original struts, and we tack welded them, on the side right here, and that gave us the exact perfect diameter of the bolts we needed, or the holes for the bolts that we needed, and it gave us the exact positioning, which is exactly center to center is 3 inches. For this right here, in these struts, it's not 3 inches, it's just short of 3 inches, like 2 5/8 or so is center to center. So as you can see here at the bottom, we have our standard big old 5/8 strut bolt in here, and up on top here we've got a simple 7/8 bolt up here, and it's fitting tight. Okay, so what we're going to do here today is we're going to remove this strut, and we're going to reposition our 3-inch hole, and we're going to account for adjustment to get that knuckle to move forward or backward. We're going to create a slot for that. Okay, now on the bottom here of these struts, if I can get this to stay out of my way, there we go, you'll notice here that this bottom hole is already slotted. Okay, so in a sense, if you think about it and you're creative, basically this is like having 2 camber bolts, one on top and one on bottom. Remember, a camber bolt is only good for a little bit less than 2 degrees of camber. But if you're able to use 2 camber bolts, you have a little bit more playroom there, or room to play with. So anyway, we're going to pull these off, and we're going to measure from the center of this hole up here, but we're going to mark the 3-inch point, which is the center, and then we're going to put the hole a little bit offset to allow for this knuckle to sit back. Okay, but before we do all that, what we're going to do is we're going to throw the wheels and tires back on, and we're going to roll this thing around back and forth a little bit, and this is going to allow the suspension to relax. And what happens when you do that is your wheel and tire wants to run flat. It wants to run flat, and it's going to try to run flat. So by leaving all these things loose, even up on top, the suspension is going to relax and settle where it needs to be, and that's when you can start the process. Okay, cool. Okay, so now because I run spacers, I'm going to run 2-inch spacers on this one right here, because this is just a scout version. Okay, so I'm probably not gonna put the big tires. I might put the big tires on it just for photo ops or something, but this one's set up as a scout, and it's a desert rig. And those great big fat tires are great in the sand, but we just don't get enough mud to worry about it. And these skinnier 10.5s or even a 10 are ideal for out in the desert. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and throw on these spacers right here before we put the wheels and tires on, because we want to make sure that when we set up our camber, we're setting up our camber based on the application that we're running. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. And there you go. So your spacers are on. Now we're going to jack this thing up and put the wheel and tire on. Okay, all right, cool. Okay, so we got the wheels and tires on. As you can see, there is a little bit of toe end going on there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to roll it back and forth a few times, and we're going to relax that suspension. And these tires are going to go up vertical because everything's loose in there. Okay, your tire wants to go flat. That's what it wants to do. Okay, so we're going to roll it around back and forth a little bit, see if we can't get those tires to straighten up, and that's going to be our starting point, our reference point. Okay, cool. Got it? Okay, and you just watch those tires. Okay. All right, so here we go. All right, see, there you go. You can see just by pushing it backwards a little bit, those tires are already straightened up for the most part. And that's because all your suspension is loose in here. So like I said, the tires want to go flat, and that's what they're doing. So they're going flat like that, and when they do that, the struts are going to give us the position to put those bolts in, okay, and to mount it up. And that's what we're doing. So let me see if I can push it forward a little bit. So there we go. That ought to do it right there. Okay, all right, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to try to get some light in here for you so you can see it, okay? But I want you to take a look at the bolts on the bottom of the strut. The bottom bolt is an original bolt. And remember I told you the bottom bolt, the hole on the strut was slotted. And remember we just relaxed the suspension, we put the suspension down, we rolled it around, and we're allowing this hardware to find its comfortable position, okay? And as you can see there on the bottom, if I'm holding this camera right, it's kind of tough. Got a big bumper hit me in the head. And they kind of are at the far right. In this particular case, it's on the right side of that slot, which is what I anticipated it to be. So it's all the way to the right. And on the other side, it's all the way to the left, on the outside, okay, towards the tire. That's how they settled up. And if you look at the top one is almost in the center. But here's the issue. The issue is those holes between the bottom and the top are not 3 inches on center exactly. Okay, guys, before we get started with anything, what you want to do is, because we're going to set up this camber without the wheel and tire on it, okay? So if you look at the position that I have this tape measure in, it's right down the middle of that coil spring. And then what you can do is you can go down here and you look at that tape measure, and you can see that right there at 11.5. See that 11.5 mark right there? What that is that's the imaginary height of my tire. So when we take this tire off and we start to play with the camber and position all that, we're going to take a floor jack underneath this control arm, and we're going to jack it up to exactly 11.5, okay? Just like it says right there. So so when we put the camber meter on our hub or on our disc brake, our new rotor, then what that's going to do is once we bring this to 11.5, that's going to allow us to decide what we have to do to adjust it, either up or down or whatever. But okay, guys, let's catch up here for a minute before I get too far ahead. Okay, so we're up on jack stands. You can see that the jack in the middle is just sitting there. We're really sitting on the jack stands. That's just to keep this thing safe. Okay, we have a jack underneath this A-arm, control arm, what do you want to call it? And now we're going back over here and right down the middle of that spring, and you can see 11.5 inches. See it there? Right there. 11.5. Okay, what that is that's our imaginary position, as if we had a wheel and tire on it. That's where it would sit at. That's why we measured that before we took the wheel and tire off. Okay, 11.5. So we're there. Okay, now I have a bottle jack underneath the hub. This is your hub assembly. This is your rotor, your disc, your hub, all that. Okay, your caliper, your brakes. That's your hub assembly. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to position this hub assembly to where we have a zero camber. Now it's reflected on me a little bit, but it's right there actually. So what I'm doing with my little screw jack, my little bottle jack here, is I'm raising this up so that I can get that level to come to the zero position. Okay, once I do that, I will know where these need to go, and down here on the bottom. Okay, remember how we did that? All right, so that's what's going on here. All right, so we're up 11.5 inches. We're now using the bottle jack. We're going to raise this up because right now it's actually kind of tilted down. So we're raising it up, and we're going to line this camber up. Okay, all right, you're caught up. All right, so this is a pretty close-up shot here, but see what's happening is, see, our holes don't line up. Remember, on our stock ones, our stock struts, they're 3 inches on center. The holes are 3 inches on center. This is like, 3.5 inches on center or so. Okay, so I wanted to give you a shot of this. See, remember, on your stock struts, these mounting holes are exactly 3 inches on center apart. Okay, but on here, They're not, okay? As you can tell on these struts, you know, they're probably 3.5 inches off. So we're off a little bit, okay? So what we're gonna have to do, and I've already marked it, though the camera's picking it up, it might pick it up a little bit, but I'm gonna have to worm this out a little bit on all 4 of them, okay? So I can get this knuckle right here to fit all the way back. It looks like it's all the way back right now, but it's not. I can actually get like a zip tie through the back of it, so it's not all the way back. I got a little bit of room, but that's the position it needs to be. And as you can see, I can't get a bolt in there, so I'm going to end up grinding this out so that my bolts fit. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. Now this is the die bit that I'm using right here. Is this one right here? Okay. Quarter drive, nice and sturdy, and this is what I'm going to use to grind out or slot out those holes on the struts. Okay, so I'm going to use this grinder right here. All right, cool. All right, just to kind of show you what this thing's going to do, and you got to work it. It's just this little barrel die grinder thing, and you're going to have to work it and walk it down to where you want. I think you can kind of see where I'm going here. A little bit farther to go. Okay. But your drill's going to get hot. It's a lot of work on the drill. You're going to need gloves to hold that drill. I'm using a drill. If you have a die grinder, again, you're way ahead of me. Congratulations. But I'm having to use basic tools and stuff like that. Okay? All right, cool. It's a slow process, but it is doing the trick. We're almost there. But I just wanted to show you what that was and how it worked. I'm using a drill. If you got a die grinder, like I said, you're way ahead of me. So anyway, I got a little bit more to go. Then I'm going to throw them back up in there and finish up that side. Okay, cool. Another tool that works surprisingly well is one of these old step bits. I hate these step bits. They're cheap. They're good for a few holes, and then they're garbage after that. But you'd be surprised how working this back and forth right in through here, how well this actually works and wobbles it out pretty good. So you can tell I'm going to finish my holes up with this step bit right here. But I just want to show you there's an alternative. If you got a step bit already, or if you want to get one of those die grinder wheels or bits, you can get one of those. But one of these larger step bits seems to be doing pretty good as well. Okay, it's chewing it up. All right, just want to show you. Basically what you want to do, what we did on this one is we put some gray primer on it so that you'll be able to see these marks that we make, where you need to make your adjustments at and wobble your holes out. I'm sure there's a technical term for wobble, but I kind of like wobble, so I'm going to go with it. All right, but basically what you want to do, if this is your 6 o'clock position and that's your 12 o'clock position right there, you kind of want to hit around 4:30, which is going to be right over there, and I'm right about there, and I'm just guessing. Okay, and another way you can do it is take your old high school damn 45-degree angle triangle right there, and see, and that's going to give it to you too, right there. Oh, maybe a little bit more, right there. Okay, and that's where you want your hole at. You're going to slot in that direction. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to slot 3/16 from the edge. So there's a quarter, 3/16. So 3/16 is right about there. That's really all you're going to have to do is 3/16. So basically, what you're doing is you're doing a number like this. Okay, that's it. That's all you got to do. Slot it right in that corner right there, and that's all you have to do. And that's what we're going to do next. Is we're going to slot that out for you, and you can see how we do it. Okay, that's it. Cool. Okay, I'm going to try to do this one hand for you. Okay, so there we go. We wobbled our hole out that we needed to. Okay, and I will tell you, I'm having the best success with this step down bit right here. Okay, even though I ordered one of those carbine bit, you know, metal cutting wheels, this one right here really kicks it up. I mean, you got to angle it and stuff to get it to work. Okay, you see straight through. See, they're both slotted now. Okay, all right, cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of black paint and cover up this primer. That was just for you guys. Okay, we're going to paint it black again. All right, cool. I didn't want to withhold this from you because I know how satisfying it is to watch paint dry. So there you guys go. Look at that. Okay. Woo! Just like new. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do here is I'm making a spacer. Okay, because the ears on the aftermarket struts are just a little bit wider than the knuckles are where they bolt at, and you don't want that shaking around. A lot of people will stack washers in there. I'm not stacking washers in there. I'm just going to make me a nice 1/8 inch spacer in there. That's going to fit perfect. Okay, so this is 4 1/8 and 4 1/8. Okay, is what it is. I was going to make them 5, but as you can see, I'm just short of material. I don't know what it is whenever I come to doing this, and I need some 1 inch flat bar. I've only got a piece left. I've already used most of it that I had. So anyway, that's what we're doing there. Okay. Okay, so this is the piece that I'm going to make into my spacer instead of using washers. And if you can see here, they're marked where I'm going to drill at, and those holes right there are exactly 3 inches on center. And I'm going to probably drill 1/2 inch holes in there, and that's what I'm going to use for a spacer. Okay, and we'll just drop it in instead of trying to stack a shitload of washers in it and stuff. All right, guys, so we got our spacers cut out, and the important thing is you got to make sure that that's 3 inches on center on those holes. Okay, that's the thing, 3 inches on center. All right, that's what you're going to need. These are 1/2 inch holes, you know. So I'm going to hit them with some brake cleaner and get the WD-40 off that I used to drill the holes with, and then we'll hit them with a coat of paint just to keep them from rusting. Okay, cool. Instead of using washers, we made this 1 inch thick plate that goes on where the bolts go through, and that's the exact size diameter of the bolt that we're going to put through, and it's 3 inches on center, which is the important thing. So you see right here, when you put the bottom hole in, let me get you right there. All right, so now before I button this up, you can see here where we had drilled that and slotted that out. See how that sits down in there now? And it pushes the top of your knuckle all the way back, and that's going to help with your camber. As you can see right here, I don't know if you can see, this is hard to see, but let me see if I can do this. There's a 0. See it? See that 0 right on there? It's dead on. Okay? All right, so that's cool, just as we want to do it. All right, cool. Okay, so I just want to be clear so you guys can understand the function of this bottle jack right here, or screw jack, whatever you want to call it. But what this does is, as you lower your A-frame down, or your lower control arm, whatever you want to call it, as you lower that down, your ball joint down here on the back is going to swivel. See it there on the bottom? It's your ball joint, and it's going to swivel, and then your whole hub assembly is going to rock up. Okay, and that's what's critical about the position of this, because this is helping hold this so you don't have to sit here and fight this with one hand to get it up, to get it level, to get the 0 on your meter here, your camber meter. So you need that bottle jack right there. So what you do is you just lower the jack down on it a little bit. It grabs onto the bottom of your hub assembly, and your hub assembly starts coming up. When that comes up, it helps your strut align its holes. That's how this hole made it all the way back to here. That's how this hole right here came forward a little bit, like that. It's not quite, but it's maybe an 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and that's it. And that sets it up, and that tells you that's your starting point. That's your camber. That's your 0 camber right there. And this is the point where you tighten everything up. You tighten everything up with the bottle jack in the way, and your jack stand just like that, or your floor jack just like that, or whatever jack you're using. And that's when you tighten everything up. And these bad boys are torqued like 70 pounds. Okay, so that, just want to make sure you understood the function of all this. All right, cool. All right. Okay, so before I tighten this up, I wanted you to see all this. Okay, so now this top bolt here dropped down. As you can see, it dropped down, not quite a 1/2 inch, but maybe 3/8 of an inch anyway. And we got our bolts back in. We got our bolt in the bottom. Now the bolt in the bottom sits forward out here towards the wheel. Okay, and the top one fits down or back towards the inside of the car, like towards the engine, and down a little bit because you slotted that out. Okay, so I wanted to show you that before I tighten this up. No welding, nothing like that. Just all you gotta do is wobble out those top holes, and you're gonna go down about it's about a 45-degree angle slot down, and wound it out, so you can get that bolt in there, and it'll fit across your knuckle right there. Don't forget to put your spacer in. See, put our spacer in there instead of a bunch of washers. Okay, and now we're gonna tighten it down. okay? And that's it. And look, if you look here, can you see this? I'm not sure if you can see that. There we go. But you see our zero? Let me pull up a little bit. Well, I can't really see it. Maybe you can see it on the camera, but it's right there. It's right there. Okay? Well, there's our camber. All right? All right, there you go. But we're not going to, this is not going to be complicated. We're going to slide out the top hole. We're going to bolt the damn thing in. That's it. That's all you got to do. My only concern or difference might be is because these are 4-door coils on here, okay? 4-door coils, and instead of the 2-door coils. So that may make a little bit of a difference, but if it does make a difference, it's going to be on the bottom, and the bottom will be in more, like towards the center of that slotted hole instead of out like it is now, okay? All right, cool. All right, now, before I button everything up, I want to point this out. I'm actually touching this coil right now. I've already tightened this up. Everything's tight. I'm ready to throw the tire on. I'm done up here, okay? I think I got a cotter pin to put in that castle nut, okay? But as you can see here, we're hitting that spring right there. Now, I don't know if this is a characteristic of the 4-door spring, because these are 4-door springs. Because when we put these shocks or struts on the 2-door, we had all kinds of clearance. But because we had to position these differently, that might be the reason why. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take and cut that little trim piece off right there. Okay? All right. And I just pointed out to you in case you have the same problem. Going down the road and every time you hit a bump, it's scrape, scrape. So, all right, cool. All right, guys. So there's your camber. It's all done. And we just rolled it around a little bit. We've relaxed the suspension and came out perfect. Zero camber on our gauge, you know, for now. We'll see what it comes out to be after we beat it up down the road. But there we go. Doing the camber right there just completed our suspension. Okay, so now our suspension is done, and you can see what a 3-inch body lift, extended travel struts, extended travel shocks in the back, and 4-door springs, plus a 2-inch budget puck lift. All that adds up to about 6.5 inches of lift. So you can see this is a Geo Tracker Suzuki Sidekick, and it's up here. You're up there, bud. So anyway, just wanted to let you be able to see the suspension the way it is, and it's really tight, and that's good. So I can't wait to get it out there and pound it up and down some of those trails. We got a lot to do on this one, so just want to make sure that you got caught up. Okay. All right. What we're going to do next is we're prepping for paint. We're going to do a driveway paint job in this one. And we've already done rattle can, so we're going to find an old paint gun and we're going to paint it outside in the driveway. Okay? All right, that's what we're going to do next. Anyway, you guys are updated, and this closes out this video. I want to thank you guys for watching and putting up with this. I hope this was an easier version to deal with camber. It's pretty simple. It's not very complicated at all. I've seen other ways that it's done, but this is the first time I've used 4-door springs, so I really wasn't sure what to expect, but it really wasn't that big of a deal at all. Okay? All right, guys, cool. There you go. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it and got some value out of it. You know, these techniques and stuff that we're doing here, you know, we're using Geo Trackers and Suzuki Sidekicks, but these same procedures and methods can be used on just about any other vehicle that may be out there. So we're just trying to give you some ideas. Take those ideas and you can go and experiment on your own projects with your own stuff, okay? We really appreciate you watching our programs, and thank you.